Hey everybody, I'm Brian LeBlanc, and this is One-on-One With. Today I'm going to be talking to Susan Suchan. She is not only a friend of mine, but she's on a member of several organizations that I'm also associated with. And we're going to talk about all things dementia today. So Susan, welcome to the initial show.
Hi, Brian. It's a pleasure to be part of something magical you've created here.
Well, we'll wait and see how magical it turns out to be.
Right.
So,
I
um,
think good.
first of all, let's talk about where are you from? Where's your location?
I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it does not feel like summer right now. Beautiful weather.
I mean, it's cool or
It's very cool for this time of year. Yes, it feels near fallish. And typical would be the dog days of summer, and it's
yeah.
very cool.
Because in case you're watching this later on, we are in the last part of August.
August.
Uh, so where I am in Pensacola, Florida, where it's always sunshiny, it's pouring down rain today. So there you go. It's one of those things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk to you about your diagnosis. So if you wouldn't mind, could you share with the audience what you were diagnosed with?
Okay. I was originally diagnosed about, I, not a very good historian, but I think about 11 years ago
Okay.
with early onset Alzheimer. Because I lost my sense of smell and almost burned a house down. After ruling everything else out, they came to conclusion early onset Alzheimer and told me to go home and live life. There was nothing can do. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't even tell all family because I was very functioning. Um, I continued to work. And I think about 4 years ago now, I start notice confusion in driving to places very familiar with, um, as though my legs were not get message from brain to legs. I often would fall. It was I couldn't make sense of these symptoms and didn't even think about the Alzheimer diagnosis because I really had just gone about life. So I went back to PCP, who ultimately referred to neurologist. And as anyone who has gone through process know, there's a lot of labs and tests and paper tests and
Isn't it fun?
oh my goodness, it is exhausting. You're just glad to have it over. I think it took 3 months to complete the tests for a diagnosis of FTD, or frontotemporal degeneration.
Mm-hmm.
And then about a month after, I thought had laryngitis. More doctors and was told PPA, primary progressive aphasia, which make words some jumble or loss of find where go right.
Right.
I can understand but it doesn't come out
Right.
always
It,
like
it, it makes sense up here, but from the time it gets from here to here,
yeah,
and
they didn't have the toll booth ready or something. Uh,
you didn't put your 50 cents in there.
that's
Come
right.
on.
So that's the price you pay is jumble words. But so yeah, that's be about 4 years ago.
Yeah. So, okay, so you go, you get your diagnosis, and you basically have been living with this now for 4 years. How has that changed your how has that changed your daily life? I know that you have probably had to make some changes. What changes did you make, and what effects did it have?
Um, there everything seemed like a negative change in the beginning for me because I didn't ask for it. I wasn't ready to make any changes. Life seemed good to me. So every change initial seemed like bleh. It took some time to realize that some of those change have a bright side to them. I think the hardest was to quit working. I couldn't perform tasks that would have take 2 hours now took me 4 to 6 hours. Um, so working was just not fair to my clients that I took so long. So that was a big change.
And I
Uh,
don't want to interrupt, but what did you do? What is your
I originally was a nurse back with the Alzheimer's diagnosis. I had be a nurse,
okay?
and somewhere in that between Alzheimer and FTD, I quit nursing, and I had created my own business where I was a life organizer and had a high-end house cleaning business. Um, and worked every day if I had a very good clientele and remained very, very busy.
Didn't mean to interrupt. So,
No,
okay,
no.
so
Yeah, it was just
you had
starting
to,
to take
yeah,
time long them. So,
right. All right, so you had to stop working, and then what happened after that?
well, when you can't work and have not money come, um, and also upon my neurologist advice, move in with my sister and her husband,
Hmm.
who very graciously bought a larger home so that we could all not be on top of one another,
Right.
accommodate having me live their house.
Sure, sure. Now, okay, so now you went from being a business professional to not working, and then living with your sister. How did
Yeah.
that change the family dynamics of, she basically kind of went from being just your sister to then caring for you, correct?
Yeah. Yes, and she's my younger sister. So, in every way imaginable, that fell backwards. And it took some time. My own pride got in the way. Um, they were very used to living alone too. Their children grown and gone. So having another person in the middle of their life was awkward. So I think what found for us was to keep the lines of communication open. Um, I tend to talk out loud to myself. I've lived alone for a long time, and or I talk to my dog. They were under the assumption I was mumbling obscenities at them, and I really wasn't. So we needed to
Right.
talk about that. So no feelings were hurt. And no one should feel like they're walking on eggshells in their own home.
Well, sure.
So having sometimes painful but very honest dialogue proved to be extremely beneficial for us. Having our own space. I still am a very independent person. And part of my disease process is noise can be accentuated. So
Oh,
having
yeah.
a place that's quiet, I can call my own, feels and sounds real good for me.
Well, as far as talking to dogs, I mean, he's not, he's never far from me.
Oh, he's
Um,
adorable.
and whenever I'm on a video conference or anything, he feels like he has to be part of the conversation. So, I talk to him a lot too. So,
Yeah,
and he's a great listener, so I can understand,
right. It
I can
works.
understand
There's
that.
no talking back or disagreeing ever with me. With
Exactly. And
yeah,
if he wants to, he just kind of runs away. So, uh, and just for the people tuning into this, as you see, I'm sitting in my kitchen. You're sitting in your living area. And I didn't say this in the beginning, but I do also have Alzheimer's. I was diagnosed in 2014 of having Alzheimer's disease. So if you see me shaking my head a lot, it's because I'm agreeing with what Susan is saying, because a lot of the things that she experiences, I experience.
mhm,
However, we experience things in different ways.
yeah,
Um, and one of the things that we do, I still live with, I'm married and have children, but they're grown. But they all pitch in and take care of it. But it changes that dynamic.
it
They go from being a family to a group of caregivers,
does.
and that's kind of hard to
It's hard to
accept.
swallow
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
I think too that trust, having trust that because we're so open, they know they can trust me when I say, I'm okay. Please feel free to go for the evening. I'm fine here alone. And they also know, because I'm very honest, I need you to help me with something. It's just not clicking, and I need some help.
yeah.
And they are there when need that. So honestly, challenging myself to this isn't just about me. This is everybody's touched by the dementia that entered the house.
Yeah,
So we make dementia stand right out in the living room and hold accountability.
exactly, exactly.
Because sometimes it's not me, it is my dementia, not understanding the nuance of a joke,
Oh yeah,
that they may interpret as me be angry or upset. I just didn't understand it.
And it's frustration,
Yeah.
you know. So, all right, I thought I turned all my alarms off on this thing, but I guess I didn't. Sorry. But the thing is that, and I get that also, because when you're frustrated, you can't figure something out for yourself. Um, and somebody comes in and all they do is say, "Can I help you with that?" It's like, no, I want to do it myself. And
Yeah.
and then later, you know, if you know, because we have open conversations, and they'll tell me, they say, you know, I'm not going to ask to help you anymore, because you know you
Right.
yelled at me.
Yeah.
But you termed it perfectly just now about saying that it's not me, it's my dementia.
Yeah.
And I get that, you
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
understand that.
I think we quit, or when I quit beating myself up for the inability to catch that nuance or figure out how to put lots of things feel like they're puzzles to me. Um, and when I quit badgering myself over the inability to uh, grasp the concept or the ability to do something that seems like I should be no. Um, I can take a deep breath and step away from it for a bit, maybe approach it later, try again, or make it a team project instead of just stay in frustration. It won't fix it. So,
And it's a learning process, because you think in the moment that's what you're thinking, but then 2 days from now you might get the same situation, and you just going to go back to doing what you did before, and it's kind of a vicious cycle.
it can feel that way, that is for sure. I think the bright side of my dementia and the changes that came with it are that I recognize myself and others much more the value of who they are and myself as person, than how much money I made or what kind of car I drove, or it just wiped all the superficialness out of the way and opportuned me this realness that I have always known but didn't spend time really acknowledging. And I feel smarter and wiser for looking life with a different perspective.
Okay, well, with that said, I have two more questions for you. The first question is, what would you like to see? You know, there's all kinds of things swirling around right now about, you know, oh, we're very close to a cure, or we're very close to this. What would you like to see for the future in the dementia world?
Well, I think, of course, we would all love to know there was a cure, but we also know, those of us particularly living with a diagnosis, we follow the research quite closely. It affects us personally
Yeah.
or our loved ones behind us. So we know the reality is that there isn't a cure on the horizon immediate. So for me, I focus more on the quality of life that I have with a diagnosis. Um, recognizing that it is a progressive disease and that at some point there's a possibility I may not be able to articulate my wants, dislikes, pain as clearly can now do. So, being very real and honest, and so people who love me can help me the best according to my likes and dislikes. And I would like to see that more in across the board. From the moment you're diagnosed, I would love to see more information provide for support, um, recognizing that every person will experience their dementia in their own personal way.
Yeah.
So having lots of options available to meet the needs of so many different the nuances that come, and being treated as a human being
Yes.
and not just a diagnosis.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up something that the first thing that popped into my mind was, being diagnosed with a dementia-related illness. Each person has their dementia designed for them. So, but it's not like, it's not like go and get a pair of designer jeans and say, hey, check these out. It's not something that you want to show off, but with each individual, it's going to be a little bit different than it is for everybody else.
Yes.
Last question. What would you say if somebody came to you and said, hey, Susan, I've just been diagnosed with, and they'll give you whatever they've been diagnosed with. What would your advice be to them?
Learn what you need to learn about your particular diagnosis, the medical part, get that out of the way,
Right.
and bring your family together so they know you're all on the same page, and find groups for support with others, so that you realize there is diagnosis and we're all gonna die sometime. But what are you gonna do with this life you have now ahead of you? And there's going to be a lot of it. So where are you gonna plant some purpose for yourself? Find the new, reinvented self. Cry and mourn the loss of some things that will change, but recognize there's always another door open to look inside and find a part of self or others you did not even know there be. And it does not have to be bad. I can say experience me that 98% is fantastic. So I encourage and challenge you to show people what you got.
And I can't add anything more to that. So, well, Susan, thank you for being my first guest on this series. Hopefully, the people that watch will get some insight. I always learn something for you every time we talk. So, and you're very insightful. You're very honest. And that's what we need is, you know, dementia does not have to, it shouldn't be glossed over. We need to show individuals that you know, it's not pretty, but it's livable.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you and I fight for every single
That's right. You're doing great things, Brian, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for watching, and stay tuned because we have more people coming up in future programs. Thanks again, Susan. Take care.
Thanks, Brian.